What is going on, everyone? Jeremy here from MTG headquarters. And here on the Wednesday show, we're going to keep it kind of casual, kind of sexy. And we're going to do a few openings as well as talk a little bit about local game stores, toxic local game stores, what you can do, and how to avoid them. But I want to get everything kicked off, by the way, by pointing out the beautiful Chance mat that is in, and all Chance mats have been shipped. There's actually about 10 or 12 left, but I think they turned out great. We have the little Mr. Chance pants at the bottom there. All of them were signed and were mailed this week. Appreciate everyone getting together to help offset some of the money that was put into his medical care. If you don't know, he did not make it, but I guess the Chance mat can now be the commemorative Chance mat. Keep his collar next to me here. I went with this blue. This is kind of like his collar blue. And, I don't want to be too depressing. He had a great life, and he was a great cat. So, there's that. We have some Fat Packs, some patron-sponsored Fat Packs to go through, and so I figured let's do that. See how many Fat Packs we have to go through to get to maybe an expedition. Maybe not. I don't know. Here we have Andrew Farewell with the Aether Revolt Fat Pack. Next month, actually, later this month, some patrons show some different stuff. I try to get people what they want when they want it. And as you know, they backed at the level where they will get their rares and any fatal pushes. And of course, any mythics. Inspiring Statuary is his first rare. Assuming Andrew is a guy, I guess that could be wrong. So, toxic game stores come up a lot, actually. And I think there's a kind of a problem inherently, which requires expertise, inherently with discussing them, right? The fact that this video is titled Toxic Game Stores and not Awesome Game Stores will increase the likelihood people want to view it, because people love drama, people love bad stuff. Deft Dismissal, Cogwork Assembler, Felidar Guardian, and SRAM's Expertise. And I want to keep this more on a positive note. So if you're deciding to leave a comment, I would love to see a comment in the comment section down below telling a good story about a local game store. Because I feel like people only ever talk shit, right? They don't talk about the good ones. And I think every local game store I've been a part of has been awesome. Skyship Plunder, Servo Schematic, Airdrop Aeronaut, and a Lightning Runner. When I was living in Louisville last year, fish out of water, whatever you might call it, I didn't really know. I only knew one person in the whole city. I played it through the Decades Games. That place was awesome. Here in Menominee Falls, Wisconsin, I play at TK Games. Before that, I played at Game Universe. Midnight Entourage. And those were 100% awesome. There's a little shop out in Newburgh called Wizard's Moo that I've always had great interactions with. Outland Boar, Gremlin Infestation, Reverse Engineer, and we have a Hardic here, and thank goodness. I was starting to worry about your Fat Pack there, bud. Aetherstream Leopard. And, the game stores I play at are always very friendly, very diverse in the people that are there, in their age, and, really diverse, the definition of diverse, which some people say doesn't really happen in smaller town game stores, but it certainly does in mine. Greenbelt Rampager. I can't believe I didn't see really any of that going around at the Pro Tour. I guess maybe there was some. Certainly in drafts there probably was. But, you know, when you don't go online, I mean, it's like people go online to bitch about stuff. They you know, you piss one person off. How's the story go? Gifted Aetherborn, Malphite Revolutionary, Monstrous Onslaught, and Glint Sleeve Siphoner. A foil Universal Solvent. You know, you piss one person off, or I mean, you provide excellent service to one person, they tell a few people. If you provide poor service to somebody, they tell everyone. Someone who's worked retail my whole life, that has always been true. Lifecrafter's Gift, Whiny Constrictor, Consulate Dreadnought. It feels like there's another foil in this pack. Merchant Stockhand, and a Scrapper Champion. And, you know, I think local game stores tend to get a bad rap. Sure, there are some terrible ones out there. I mean, I've been in some that aren't the greatest. Treasure Keeper, Crackdown Construct, Perilous Predicament, Out of Planner Bridge, Double Mythic. Nice fat pack, Andrew. I will ship that out tomorrow, bud. Put that back in your fat pack so I don't get it mixed up. You know, a lot of the... the next fat pack is, I hope I'm saying this right, Fraulein? It's not spelt like German Fraulein. It's spelt like Fraulein. But that's the name I have for you. Thank you for the support. Hopefully I open well for you. So, you know, most of what you see about local game stores, you often hear is what is negative, right? And that helps mold perception. And I will say the one thing that I have found to be true very often in local game stores is bathrooms. They're almost always gross. And that's one big area. SRAM. One big area I think local game stores can improve. Better bathrooms, keeping them clean, maybe providing more than one if you're going to have big events. Because Lord knows I've been to some like PPTQs that poor bathroom. You know, when we had a midnight pre-release of 115 players through the decades and one toilet bowl, I felt bad for that poor guy or gal or whatever. Glint Sleeve Siphoner. So bathrooms, I think, are a reoccurring issue, and I think if you say something to a local game store about it, hopefully they'll react positively. A lot of times people don't react that well to criticism, you know? Ironclad Revolutionary, Malphite Revolutionary, Servo Schematic Revolutionary, Call for Unity. But I think it's... My dog's snoring over there. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. I've always had great luck. Here we have Gifted Aetherborn, Narum Renegade, Monstrous Onslaught. Oh, and a Walking Ballista. Ballista. There we go. You know, local game stores, they have a special power over us Magic players that most retail outlets don't. And that is that... Oh, there we go. Another Mythic. Gonti's Aetherheart. Is that if we want to play Magic with other Magic players, we need a local game store. Even if we can buy Magic cards, well, you could play at home, of course, but the local game store is especially important to us. Deft Dismissal, Outland Boar, Barricade Breaker, and Hope of Gearpur. And a Gremlin Infestation foil. Is that the second one of those I got? And it kind of sucks because, like, capitalism doesn't always work in this case because local game stores don't make a lot of money. 99% of them. Most of them fail in the first year or two, just like most businesses. There we go. There's a Fatal Push. And another Mythic. Aetherwind Basker. And so, you know... It's tough to run a local game store. I certainly never would choose to do it. If I had $100,000 cash and I had to pick a business to invest in, local game store would be one of the last ones. So it's also hard to kind of be tough on them because, ooh, a foil Oath of a Johnny, spicy. Because, we need them. And so I don't think they get the criticism like face to face or in a constructive manner as often as they probably should. And that sucks because they don't have the same level of competition that normal other commerce might, where like if a local game store is bad, if it was like Walgreens, you would just go across the street to the other local game store. Well, most towns are lucky to even have one. I get stories all the time of people that have to drive an hour or more to even get to a local game store. And what if that local game store stinks? Well, the sad reality is you're kind of out of luck. Quicksmith Rebel. Pretty decent fat pack overall with the Walking Ballista, Fatal Push, Foil Oath of a Johnny. That was alright, Fraulein. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Probably didn't. Take a break here and let's just talk, and then I'll get back to opening. So it's kind of tough when I think about game stores because there's such a love-hate relationship with them. It's almost parasitic. We're parasitic on them. We go in there, we leave messes, we leave the bathrooms dirty, and then we bitch about if their prices aren't fair enough. And in the reality is they're really not making that much money in the first place. Most of them, break even, and maybe if they buy a collection or two, they can make some money. But what do you do about a toxic local game store? And I don't know. I would love to give you a bunch of, positive things you could do here, but the honest truth is all you can really do is stop patronizing it. I mean, you can give feedback in a constructive format in an anonymous letter or in an email if you don't like confrontation. And if that business owner decides to ignore your feedback or thinks you're not important, then you're in a weird position, right? Because you want to play Magic the Gathering badly. You're addicted. You get the shakes when you don't play it. But there's actually a lot of different ways you can play Magic the Gathering. I mean, you could play Magic Duels. You could start down the online path with something like X-Mage or Cockatrice. If you're really desperate, MTGO, Magic Duels, things like that. You can also try to put together a local play group, which is what I actually suggest people do with toxic game stores. So sure, you can't really attend pre-release if you don't have a game store. But there's really nothing stopping you from hosting people at your house, having 10 people, 5 people throwing on a booster box, decide that you're going to do prize support and holding drafts or sealed events at your home. This is something people in my community do all the time, especially around pre-release or before GPs. People will get together, buy a box, and draft it or practice sealed and actually put some prize support on the line. Of course, it costs more than having a local game store, but I'm a firm believer, as someone who runs their own business myself, that, if you're not providing high quality service, your customers should speak with their wallets in that fashion. And I think there's more ways than ever to communicate with people. And it'd be pretty easy to get a local group together to meet at the library or somebody's house or, coffee shop, as long as you're respectful. Having no local game store or no good local game store doesn't have to be the end of the world. You could take matters into your own hands, buy your booster boxes online, like a lot of people have to do, because either A, their local game store is not competitive in pricing, or they don't have a local game store, or they don't want to patronize their local game store. And that's the way the world should work. Too many of these crappy local game stores stay around because people feel like, it's kind of a dump, but there's nowhere else to go. And I see that and I feel like, yeah, but isn't there? Is there an option 20 minutes away that might be worth your time for a better environment? I've driven a half hour to an event at a local game store when I have one 7 minutes, 10 minutes from my house. If you're younger and you have to rely on public transportation or someone else giving you a ride, of course, that's more difficult. But you could have some sort of after-school group. Just getting creative, I think, is really important when you have a bad local game store environment. Now, these next two go out to Jeremy Taylor, all the way in Australia, who's been waiting patiently for his Fat Packs. It was his birthday recently, so happy birthday, buddy. Hopefully we can find some sweet expeditions for you. He asked for the Kaladesh block, so we're going to do Aether Revolt and Kaladesh for him. Is there something local game stores can do to be, or is there something Wizards can do? This is something I had some discussion with someone this week on. And this is really captured by the consulate. This is really a touchy subject for me because people should be able to run their businesses however they want. However, in Wizards of the Coast's case, to be a WPN store, I don't feel like it's unreasonable for them to have certain ethics standards, certain community standards, like anything you would see at a GP, where they'll have signs kind of posting, minimum, be a good human rules and enforcing them, and then giving players a way to report in when a local game store isn't doing that. Now, are there all sorts of ways to screw with the system? Sure. Does Wizards want to invest the money in supporting a program like this? That's up to them. If there are so many toxic game stores out there, and I don't know that there are or aren't. Ooh, Inventors Fair. I still say that's one of the best looking foils I've ever opened. If there is a bunch of kind of crummy local game stores out there, maybe Wizards could put in some checks and balances, right? Some minimum standards. Once you get X number of complaints, you have to send in pictures of your store, or you have to get some referrals or reviews. I don't know. Saheeli's Artistry. Us Magic players, we're a cynical bunch, so we may be thinking like, oh, all the ways we could abuse this. But maybe just the system, having the system in place where you could lose your WPN status if you don't keep your freaking bathrooms clean. Metallurgic Summonings, Mythic. It's tough, right? Because a lot of people that own local game stores are not business people. They're gamers. And they're just not used to, running a business. It's hard enough to make money in this business, and then you've got to keep customers happy too. Smuggler's Copter. Foil Thriving Rhino. So I don't know. What do you all think game stores could do? Is there a system in place that Wizards could hold game stores accountable that you would see as reasonable? I don't know how I feel about it. Eliminate the competition. It's a touchy subject for me because I'm a big, hands-off kind of thing. Let the market decide. If your game store sucks, people will stop showing up, right? Problem is, there's not lines and lines and lines of people willing to work 100 hours a week to make very little money. Inspiring Advantage. So what do we as Magic players do? I think learning to give constructive feedback to our local game stores is really important. Learning how to give constructive feedback instead of just bitching or saying, your store's shit. Say, well, there's literal poop on the walls in the bathroom. That's disgusting. I'm not going to play in a place like that. Well, I lost an uncommon there. Deadlock Trap. So, I don't know. This topic kind of came up in my conversations about being inclusive at game stores, and I've been to maybe 5 or 10 in my life, and all of them always seemed to be a cultivator of blades. Very diverse in the type of people that are there. Sure, there are people that don't like other people. That's just human nature. I'm sorry, but living in the utopian society that some people some people believe exists, where everyone's going to just automatically get along because we all play Magic, that's not realistic, okay? I'm also not really a fan, to be honest, as a business person, of these signs that you see at GPs that tell people how to be nice. I mean, first of all, it's just lip service. There's no real teeth behind it. But I guess it's something. It puts some awareness out there, like, hey, maybe Wizards prints one of these signs for all the local game stores and sends it with one of their next pre-release kits or something. Aether Revolt, Fat Pack. Jeremy Taylor. Last Fat Pack of the video. I'm really just trying to brainstorm with all of you. I'm hoping the comment section down below is going to yield some really good ideas that we could actually share with Wizards. Foundry Hornet. Monstrous Onslaught. Hidden Stockpile. Hope of Ghirapur. I mean, I'm not into policing behavior, really. I'm not into fun policing. If somebody says a naughty word at a local game store, that's just the real world. I don't like this whole, if the local game store wants to have like a no... Oh, Fatal Push. There we go. Some sort of no swearing policy or no whatever policy. That's on them. But I don't want to see that level of enforcement coming from a company that just wants to sell cards. But I also recognize that you're not going to get a lot of local game stores to change something if there's no teeth behind it. It's like expecting people not to speed if there's no speed limit signs or nobody ever gets pulled over for speeding. You know what would be really cool, Inspiring Statuary, is if your score, if let's say Wizards had some sort of, look at this homemade coffee mug. If Wizards had some sort of secret shoppers and you would get a score, and this video is kind of meandering, but I think I might have come up with an idea I actually really like. Fredrum Regent is, let me propose a scenario for you here. What if there was like secret shoppers or something? Where you could sign up and go score a local game store. And what if this was done on a volunteer basis? Yes, of course, there's abuse possibilities. But what if, based on your score, your satisfaction score, your performance score, that affected your pricing on product? So if you were like A+, your bathrooms are always clean, your customer surveys come back good, this sort of thing. Oh, there's a huge spider on the speaker. Gross. Yeah, this happens when you have your stuff in the basement. Maybe they pay $73, $75 a box now. In order to get that premium level pricing, you have to be an A-level store. B-level store, you don't get penalized, but your boxes are $80. C-level store, your boxes are $85. And instead of just rewarding volume, which is what Wizards does now, you could also add a quality component to the scores where, we're not going to kick you out of WPN, but you have a real incentive to score well. What do you think about that? I guess that appeals to good business people, but what if you're not a good business person? There's a mythic, Herald of Anguish. Definitely already very interested in what is going to end up in the comments down below on how to fix toxic game stores. I mean, in my opinion, in any other scenario other than Magic and maybe needle exchanges, we can't just let them die like we would any other bad business in our society, in general. Another mythic, Exquisite Archangel. This is turning out okay for you. As much as I would like to just say, you know what, you lose your WPN. I mean, there's lots of game stores that are not WPN. So, I mean, you can still buy Magic cards from distributors or whatever, but you're not going to get the WPN stuff unless you're selling Recruit. Unless you score really well on this review. I don't know. Because I used to work retail, and I remember when the people were coming around, the secret shoppers, we were on our best behavior, right? So I don't know if that's a permanent fix, but it does add. And I don't think it's really a deterrent to becoming a game store, because you should maintain certain standards, right? Like, you shouldn't have, like, dirty bathrooms, and you shouldn't have, like, abusive behavior amongst your players that you don't deal with on a long-term basis. You know, isolated incidents, you can't control people, but there should be some minimum standard. I don't know. This video is very meandering, but I wasn't really sure I had the answer, and I figured, what better than to just pull everyone out there? Oh, Paradox Engine. Very mythical. I know it's not the normal you would see, but Jeremy Taylor got some nice stuff. A couple of mythics, 3 mythics, maybe more. Fatal Push. Smuggler's Coptic. There's another mythics. Copter. I'm definitely very interested in getting this discussion going in the comments section down below. Later this week, I'm going to have a video coming out where I've got a nice interview with a lawyer who represents esports players. I've got lots of great content coming out this week. Hopefully you've enjoyed this little meandering, kind of bloviating video, and we'll talk to you again real soon.